We will now call the business session of the March 16th, 2021 City Council meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. On March 16th, 2020, the governor suspended various provisions of the Open Meetings Act pursuant to his state of disaster authority. The change was effective March 16th, 2020 until further notice or until the state of disaster declaration expires. In accordance with physical distancing guidelines and while providing as much transparency as possible, this meeting will not be open to the public. This meeting is being broadcast live at wccc.tv. The audio is also being recorded. The video and audio recordings will be available to the public. According to the governor and attorney general, statutes that may require face-to-face interaction between members of the public and public officials are suspended, provided, however, that the governmental body offers alternative methods of communications with their public officials. This includes a public comment on agenda items. In an effort to allow for as much public input as possible, those who wish to speak or submit their written comments on a listed agenda item are asked to register with the city secretary's office by noon today. Individuals who register to speak on an agenda item must limit their comments to 3 minutes. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. When called to speak, please state your name for the record. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the city council shall be removed if directed by the presiding officer. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is to consider the minutes of the February 26th, 2021 special council meeting and the March 2nd, 2021 regular council meeting. Are there any corrections? There being no corrections, the minutes will stand approved as presented. And we have a proclamation today. So I will just read this proclamation. Traditionally at city council meetings, when we would have proclamations, we would have our guests come and be able to say a few words, but so I'll just read this at this time. I, Dylan Meek, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, do hereby proclaim April 5th, 2021 as COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day in the city of Waco, and urge the people of Waco to join with the city council, city staff, and me in remembering those who have lost their lives to COVID-19 and honoring those who are forever marked by and continue to suffer from the long-term health impact of this virus. COVID-19 has spread across the world, creating a global pandemic, and the city of Waco, McLennan County, the local health community, and the Waco-McLennan County Public Health District, public servants, and community leaders have taken bold actions to protect residents, support struggling businesses, and find innovative ways to provide service. Since the first emergency order on March 17th, 2020 was issued, essential workers in health and the health community have stepped up to provide critical services while sacrificing their own health and safety. COVID-19 has also had a disproportionate impact on low-income communities and communities of color, exacerbating inequities and the health disparities that we must address. The first death reported in Waco, McLennan County was on March 31st, 2020, and we have now a recorded 437 lives lost to this deadly virus. Each life lost to COVID-19 mattered and leaves a hole in the hearts of loved ones, family members, and the surrounding community. Please join me in remembering and honoring those who have been impacted by COVID-19. In testimony whereof, witness my hand in the seal of the city of Waco this 16th day of March, 2021. We will now move on to a public hearing, which is public hearing 2021-155. Clint Peters, the Director of Development Services, will make a presentation remotely.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plat. Final plat of the Oak Bluffs Addition Phase 1 ETJ plat. By a vote of 11-0, the Plan Commission recommended that the subdivision plat be approved.
Sorry, are there any questions for staff? All right, we will open a public hearing. Did anyone register to speak?
No, Mayor, we didn't have anyone registered to speak for this item.
All right, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Palmer,
Aye.
She's here. She's not visible. There's a camera issue on her computer, but she's here.
Thank you.
I think I heard an aye. Did I hear an aye,
She said
Councilman?
aye.
Said aye. That's
She
right.
said aye.
Josh Porterud,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll now move to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of resolutions 2021-156 through 2021-169. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion for approval on consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Palmer,
Aye.
Porterud,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to there's no ordinances tonight, so we're going to move to our hearing of visitors. Esmeralda, are there any registered speakers for the hearing of visitors?
yes, sir, we do. We have one.
Great. We will now open the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters of consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide follow-up. When called to speak, please state your name for the record. Each speaker must limit comments to 3 minutes. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing the city council shall be removed if directed by the presiding officer. Esmeralda, who do we have to speak this evening?
Mayor and Council, Dr. Alan Northcutt has registered to speak, and you have 3 minutes. Mr. Northcutt, can you hear us?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Alan Northcutt. First of all, we talked previously about the option of a refrigerant for a proposed cooler unit that was not a greenhouse gas, particularly not an HFC with a very high greenhouse warming potential. So tonight, I have some follow-up on this issue from the Department of Energy, the EIA, which is the Energy Information Administration. And they note that for home refrigerators, there are now some 52 units available, brands such as Samsung, GE, and LG, which use a very low warming potential refrigerant, particularly isobutane. Now, isobutane is called R600A in refrigerant terminology. It has an atmospheric lifetime of 12 years before it degenerates or decays. Its warming potential is only 3 over 1,000 years. Now, in contrast, the refrigerant we discussed previously, the R410A, has an atmospheric lifetime of 17 years and a warming potential of 2,000. So if the city purchases small refrigerators going forward, which presumably that does happen, they should use purchase a refrigerator that uses isobutane or other non-warming refrigerant. This information is also useful to council persons buying home refrigerators or to Wacoans watching this session. One can Google the Energy Information Administration to find a list of these type of fridges that do not damage our climate. And I've included a file of this list for city council persons. And this is also, you can look on the refrigerator itself. There's a label that will show the type of refrigerant. So look for isobutane or R600A. This is important because refrigerant maintenance, refrigerant management, is one of the most important areas of climate change mitigation. Second, I wanted to note that the federal $1.9 trillion Relief Act will contain monies for cities to repair and update infrastructure. So possible use of these funds to hasten the transition to renewables and for electrification of transportation should definitely be kept in mind. In addition, a proposed Citizen Climate Corps may be available soon for city usage, and this could be employed for projects like weatherization of homes for low-income citizens. So I would keep that in mind as well. The Citizen Climate Corps has been proposed by the administration as very likely to happen. That should be kept in mind as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other visitors that have registered to speak?
No, sir, there are no other registers for this part of the agenda.
Very good. Are there any council member reports on committees, boards, or commission liaison visits? All right, how about any requests for future agenda items?
Mary, sorry, y'all can't see my camera. I'm having tech issues over here, but just want to quickly highlight that March is National Social Work Month, and we have 3 fantastic social work programs in our community from Baylor and MCC and Tarleton, from the associate level all the way up to the doctoral level. So just want to highlight the great work that social workers are doing in our community. The NASW theme for this year is that social workers are essential. So we're grateful for all of our social workers working in hospitals and in hospice and in youth welfare and just across the spectrum of our community. So wanted to highlight that before we wrapped up this meeting.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Palmer. Any other reports or future agenda items? There being none, we will adjourn our meeting at 6:20 p.m. Have a good evening, everyone.